So the history of the Myles Kennedy solo projects. Started in 2017, at least the majority of the writing was during that period. And it was more of an acoustic affair.
The first record we did with Myles was based on all acoustic. So he sent me a lot of acoustic demos and it was just him and a vocal playing the guitar. And we decided that we would keep it very minimalistic and then kind of add things around it to whatever supported the acoustic vibe that he was going for in the album, but not just to layer it up with a bunch of stuff. It was just what was necessary to grow it.
I was definitely trying to do something that was a little different from some of the other things I was known for, and so wanted to unplug. It also ended up being a very personal record, dealing with some history, some things that my family had gone through and when I was young, and really working through all that. It turned out to be very cathartic, very important record I should have made a long, long time ago, frankly. So then fast forward a few years later, and the world shut down during 2020, 21, and I had plenty of time to write. Had been in the middle of an Alter Bridge tour cycle and hoped that eventually we were going to get back out and start touring again. But in the meantime, I wanted to be productive, so I just started writing in my studio and put together Ides of March.
He wanted to grow a little bit more electric, but still keep a folky Americana atmosphere to it.
And that was a different sounding record. It wasn't as much of an acoustic record. It was definitely, there was a certain intensity there, more electric.
Sometimes you gotta let go and just open your mind. So we shied away from any kind of, in fact we did no doubling of the guitars anywhere on the album. It was very, very open, and we used actually the live room was all the natural ambience on the record. We had 2 speakers set up in, so any sound that we ever wanted to shoot back into the big room, we could shoot into the big room. And that gave us everybody kind of in one place playing together, but still a minimalist approach to it, but in the Americana rootsy type vibe.
And so when that finally came out, we started touring with Tim Turnier and Zia Udine. And unfortunately, we didn't get to tour as much as we would have liked on that album cycle. We had a lot of fun. But the takeaway for me on that record was that I wanted to do more of that. I wanted to do more of I guess the thing that I've been known for most of my career, which is riff-based rock. And not be afraid of that. And also, since Tim and Z and I had all grown close and had so much fun touring, I wanted to make it so that we could keep doing it as a 3-piece. So I remember thinking that as I embarked on the writing process for this next project that I was going to do, I wanted to keep that in mind. I wanted to make it so that the arrangements were such that as a 3-piece we could pull it off. And because what was happening when we go out on the road, even clear back to Year of the Tiger, is we would find that the records were layered just enough to where we had to re-envision some of the arrangements. Why not just start there instead of recording something a certain way and then having to reinvent it once you started touring? Why not just record it that way in the first place? That's one of the things that happened with the next record.
For this record, when Myles called me up to talk about making the album, he said he wanted to do something that was more of a rock record, but still wanted to not go over the top and not make it a big modern rock production, which we have not. Very organic, very open, and I would say in many ways we harken back to how when we tracked those 20-some years ago, the Mayfield 4 record, it was 3 guys in a room playing together, and then whatever we needed to add, we would add on to it afterwards, but only out of necessity, not just to add it, but it's like, this really helps the song. That I was like, this is just kind of the approach we need to take when we go in the studio. And we literally just came in, they played the tracks, and then we did some overdubs, you know, on the guitar if we needed a double or something to widen it up, and then we let it kind of go.
Another big part of the equation was the fact that, and this sounds like a shameless plug, but I had my first signature guitar, and that was amazing. So I was so, and still am, so enamored with that instrument that it was basically, became an appendage. It was all I wanted to do was just play that guitar. So that guitar in a lot of ways informed what this record was going to be, because that guitar has a certain sonic characteristic and has a certain thing that it does really, really well. And so when I'd sit down and start writing and coming up with riffs, it was effortless. And this guitar was like, you're going to do this. And so it was a lot of fun in that respect. I don't know if I've had an instrument kind of nudge me along like that in a really long time. Discovering, it was almost like it was this honeymoon period, and we were ultimately just figuring each other out, and that's a lot of what this record is that honeymoon phase with me and my guitar.
It's tough. That's a tough question. Because Zia, I mean, his style, what's tough about answering that question is the fact that I know all these guys' styles and what they can bring, so it's not so much what could they bring, it's what did they bring to the record. And I think for Zia, starting with Zia, he really harkened back more to his classic rock roots and much more aggressive playing. Like he's playing a lot more aggressive. He's got a lot more space to have big fills. It's like a power trio, a lot of this record. Tim on the bass is able to, we're using a lot more distortion and he's filling a bigger part of the sonic space, because it's not, all these layered guitars and crazy vocal harmonies and stuff going on. It's just very open. So the bass really is doing a lot, and Myles pulls off and does leads, and so when the rhythms drop, the bass is the meat holding it all together. And Myles, of course, he always brings it. I mean, with Myles, good Lord, I mean, I've worked with him for so long, I don't think most people understand what a brilliant guitar player is. They know how great the vocals are, but they don't realize he can play anything. I mean, he can go from the far side of classical and jazz to, progressive metal, it's just in between. But in this particular record, he is doing more of what he does best, which is in that just dirty rock and roll, it's just classic rock. It's not trying to chase something else. It's this is where my range sits best. This is the songs I'm feeling, and I feel like I want to make a statement. I want to do something a little more aggressive and heavy, and that's what he did.